Hey everybody, it's Andy here, aka Montolio. We're back for a vintage challenge. It's been a little while. Decided to play HogaakVine today, the Jund version, as I think it's a pretty good deck. Seems to be able to have game against everything, so I do like it quite a bit. Now let's take a look at our opener here. We are on the draw. Most recently, my opponent has been playing You Are Murktide. I feel like this hand is very mediocre. I think I can do better. Yeah, I like this. We'll keep this one. And I think I'm going to put back a Bayou here. Let's try this out. Polluted Delta. Okay. Let's do a bit of bazaring here. Not a very good bazaar, was it? Your lands are fairly valuable in this deck. Like, you certainly don't want to be discarding your Taiga. The fetches are going to help build towards this, but of course we've shown our hand here a little bit, that we are building towards a Hogaak, but let's see. Our hand did not shape up as nice as I would have hoped post-bazaar, but ponder. So this is likely Doomsday. I know that my opponent, certainly early in their tenure in Vintage, oh wow, they don't have a land. That's really good for me. Well, we're definitely going to bazaar here and see what we can find. That worked out just beautifully. Getting the vine here is really nice. Because I believe this is Doomsday, I really want to kill my opponent as humanly fast as possible. Like, this is a 2-turn clock here. Actually, it's not, but it's close. Get a Badlands here, I think. And I'm just going to pump my Root Walla and just try and get in as much damage as I possibly can. So I certainly don't feel secure here, but if my opponent did not find a land, I think we're in reasonable shape. Okay, so we're probably dead here. Oh, it is Murktide. Okay. Time Walk. I was just about to say, one of the reasons to play a Wasteland here was exactly because of the presence of Time Walk. But now we know what we're playing against here, so that does help. Iteration. Okay, I don't know that that's going to be good enough for them. I guess they can bolt. Our first Bazaar did not look very good, but our second spin was quite good. Now, will they go after my Badlands here? I bet you they do, in hopes to stay alive. Oh, they went after my Bazaar. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. I mean, I just have them dead. I'm surprised they didn't go after the Badlands. What could they have here? Yeah, I'm not sure. A gut shot. They're not conceding, though. 4, 8, 11, 12. Yeah, I mean, just going to wasteland them out here. So let's go for it. Okay. Alright, so, I do think we want Pyroblasts. It is a Murktide deck. I don't think that we want Leyline of... They do run Wastelands. I could play an Alpine Moon for their Wastelands. I think we can cut a Hogaak, because they're going to attack our graveyard here for sure. So I just want another Boseiju. Boseiju is a good way to get rid of a Needle. Why don't we try this out here? I think I'm going to try the Deathrite plan with reference to trying to curb their graveyard a little bit. It's likely not optimal, but the nice thing about HogaakVine is we are not as reliant on our graveyard as other decks like Dredge and Squee. So this hand doesn't look amazing, but it's not bad. No Leyline, so that's good. Okay. So they could be just riding the back of... oh, interesting. I'm going to take a gamble here. They could be sitting on a wasteland here. That is definitely true, and one of the problems about playing the Root Wall, not playing the Root Wall out, but I think it's okay. They're just going to scour here. Yeah. I mean, a fast Murktide is going to be tough on us, but it can be beat. One of the nice things about our deck is it does go wide. Okay, so there goes our Bazaar. That is not a big surprise for sure. Now my question is do we want a Wasteland here? And I think we do. It's possible my opponent kept a hand based on the Wasteland. I'll just try and play a slower game here. And maybe we're going to draw another Bazaar, which won't be bad for us. Okay, so I think I'm reasonably happy with that. I think I cast a Deathrite. Yeah. Let's cast the Deathrite here. I do suspect this will eat a Bolt, but if it doesn't, that's great for us. It did not. They cannot cast a Murktide here. Okay, a Wasteland. That is fine. I mean, it's not ideal, but... I think I get a Badlands here. Let's see if we can resolve this. I don't think they will. Okay, so maybe they're going after the Hogaak if I get one. So we didn't hit a Gak, but we are potentially going to have the ability to... I guess we'll go into this. We'll get a green source. I'm coming off of Pyroblast here. And a green, and we'll animate our vines. Okay, so looks like my vines are getting in. And that's pretty big game for me, guys. I mean, it's possible my opponent's on a Tabernacle here. But even that is not the worst. And we'll just hope that they're stymied on lands here. Of note that should my opponent be able to get a Murktide down, we do have a Pyroblast as an answer. So there's the Tabernacle, and that was not unanticipated. So it's a little bit awkward because, I mean, certainly I can pay for one Vengevine, but that would involve me letting go of my Deathrite to keep the second one around, and I do think it's worth it. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to eat another land from my opponent's graveyard. And I'm just going to hope that I draw a land off the top. And that's a pretty big game for me. Now they may have a lightning bolt here, and this doesn't look nearly as good. See what we get in our yard. No Gax. Okay, so let's find a land. We did not, but this still could be enough. I mean, we'll see if this hits. So that worked out pretty good. We are going to lose one of our vines. Okay, we're going to lose both our vines. That's too bad. Okay. So we are in some trouble now. We played our gambit. It did not work. But a Bazaar of Baghdad could change things around pretty quickly. We've got 2 active vines sitting there. Any land is helpful. My opponent is notably down to 2 life. Let's hope this is not a dashed Ragavan. That would be unfortunate. Okay, expressive. So they're not going to quite get the value they're looking for out of this. I shouldn't say that. It's possible they could hit a Mox or a Lotus, something of that nature. And they did. So I spoke a little bit too prematurely here. Okay, Wooded Foothills is pretty good. We do have a Pyroblast. Expressive Veneration. So I am going to counter that, or I'm going to attempt to counter it. We have to get the Taiga. We're kind of in a really bad situation if our Taiga gets killed, but that's just the world we're living in. I mean, we got to do what we can do here to try to get this game. Okay, they just let it go. All right, they have another one. Pithing Needle. Yeah, Pithing Needle is not a problem. I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to force a Vigor. I just think it's worth doing. It's just sitting in our hand here, so we may as well. And if they want to force this out, counterspell this, I'm totally fine with that, because that opens up other avenues for us. Yeah, and they've identified correctly that they're not overly concerned about those cards. Huh, oh, good draw. So what we will do is we will go to their turn, and if we have to counter something with Pyroblast, we will. And if not, we will cycle Hollow One. Ragavan. Okay, well I cannot stop Ragavan. I just hope they brick here. They hit a Hollow One. Okay, so that's good. I'm really happy they hit that. Shattering Spree. Okay, well that's going to force my hand. I am going to... I guess I will tap it. A little sad to lose that, because that was a fairly valuable mana, but... Okay, Deathrite Shaman. Let's find a land off the top here, guys. That's a pretty good one. Like, let's spin. Well, they're probably going to force of will this, is my gut, because this threatens lethal damage if I can find a black source. Okay, so now Force of Will is, for all intents and purposes, shut off, and we are playing towards these Vengevines here, or any of our Root Wallas is going to threaten lethal damage. So let's see what we can do. Despite we're in a difficult position here, we are hanging around. In addition to that, Bloodghasts are also an imminent threat. So for those of you who are unaware, in a situation where you're hell-bent like this, it's essential that you tap your Bazaar in your upkeep before you've drawn to get those vital cards in your graveyard, and then you draw your card for the turn. So there's no card loss. You don't ever want to draw your card and then Bazaar, because you lose card equity that way. You'll have to discard the card you drew. But we have a lot of really live draws here. I'm feeling not terrible here. Black Lotus is a nice one for my opponent. We are going to get hit with Ragavan. Or Murktide here. Okay, they're digging for that Murktide. Trying to end me very quickly. Unfortunately, the Lotus is a fairly critical draw for them here. Chooses not to shuffle. That does not bode well for me. Likely going to needle my Bazaar, is my guess. Okay, it's a Murktide. All right, it's a big boy. I mean, I'm on a 2-turn clock here. So let's hope we can get a bit lucky and get this these vines going. We didn't. Well, there is a... I'm wondering if I almost hold that to try and get those vines going. The thing is if I get wastelanded, like this holds, if I cast the Root Walla, it potentially holds the Murktide back. But I think I'm going to get a bit greedy here. I mean, Ragavan is coming in too. I think we're in a bad enough spot that we are playing towards these Vengevines. I realized that, okay, my opponent did not cast the Ragavan, interestingly enough. Okay. Yeah, very nice. All right, so we did not win this game. Time Walk was a really nice card for them to have. Makes sense why they didn't do the Ragavan there. I will say we almost pulled that one out. We would not have been able to get our Vine going next turn anyways, so... Okay. To be honest, I really like what we have going on here. I feel like our deck has the tools to win. We just have to hope we have a good opener. I mean, we were in trouble for a good portion of that game, and we're able to kind of fight through it. And my opponent won by the hair on their chinny chin chin. You know, through the Tabernacle in combination with Wasteland and Strip Mine was just enough to get there, but it was a gamble we took that didn't quite pay off. But I still don't think I would have played that one differently with reference to letting the Deathrite go to keep the 2 Vengevines in play, because we were threatening lethal. You know, in addition to that, like, sure, there's a failure rate with this deck. much like there is with every other deck. But decks that are running Ragavan in them versus these style of decks that just have so many free creatures in them, one casting cost creatures, is not really very good. Okay, so this hand, if we can find a Bazaar, is solid. If we don't find a Bazaar, it's actually fairly poor. I don't know. I feel like we can just do better than this. This is much worse. Okay. Let's go down to 5 here. This is not where we want to be. All right. These hands can win. We are looking for a Hogaak. We did not find one. That was actually a really bad hit. We didn't hit any Bloodghast, Vengevines, or Hogaak. Let's hope we don't get Wastelanded. And we did. Okay. Terrible, guys. I mean, this is the hand we signed up for. We do have lots of good draws off the top to help us here. Land. Oh boy, guys. I'm not going to attack here. Thought Tower. Well, we are in some trouble here. They can Murktide now if they have a blue source. Okay. There's the Tabernacle. All right, well, unfortunately I am penciled in towards killing that because the game plan I am on very much revolves around me being able to keep my Piddlywinks around. Once again, I am not going to attack. I don't think it's beneficial to do so. Interesting, my opponent would choose to do that. Like, they're going to have to discard 3 cards here. 3 ley lines, interesting. Alright, Mox was a really good draw for me. I bet you this gets forced. Yeah. Okay. So my opponent is landlocked. How much can I gamble attacking them? I just don't think it's worth it. Pithing Needle, okay. Shutting off Bazaar here is decent. Yeah, because Bazaar is one of the cards that gets me out of this. So we did play it smart. They had the Ragavan. They would have dashed almost assuredly. Okay, so this was decent for me. I think I'm just going to take their blue source here. You know, a Hogaak is not a bad draw for me either, because it allows me to be sneaky with getting it into play, but... Okay, my opponent is down to 3 cards here. I mean, obviously I'm having my struggles here, but given what my opponent has done over there, it's like I'm not in the worst of shape. Yeah, they didn't attack. Great. Land? Yeah. Okay, holding pattern. Okay, so I mean, this is a tricky situation to be in here for sure. We really now are in a position where any fetch land can allow us to get a Dryad Arbor. Okay, so they did find a wasteland. I wonder if they'll go after my wasteland. All right, let's find a land here, guys. Ah, jeez. We are moving towards next turn an active discard, which is good for us. So as long as our opponent doesn't charge us here, I think we're okay. So they found another land here by the looks of it. Wasteland, okay. I'm really lucky they didn't attack me there. So that's unfortunate because they have Bazaar covered here. So I'm going to move towards discarding a Basking Rootwalla here. No point in playing the Bazaar there. Now this is further discouragement towards my opponent attacking me. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think we attempt to cast. The problem with me attempting to cast Hogaak, to be honest with you, is that if it gets forced, at least a next turn I can get the Bloodghast in to maintain a blocker. I mean, we're treading on thin water, but I think that's the correct line. And they're choosing not to attack. They have 7 cards. Okay, interesting. Hopefully they wasteland this. I mean, that would be really sweet. This is going to get forced for sure. I mean, my opponent has drawn a lot of cards in this game, so okay. They just have Tabernacle, I guess. That's what they've been sitting on with all likelihood. Okay. I mean, maybe they have nothing. I don't know. Yeah. That doesn't feel like Tabernacle. Why would they do that? Interesting. Well, they hit, oh boy, they hit 2 of my good lands there. That's, all my lands are in my graveyard now. My bad lands, Bayou and Taga. That's problematic. So this feels like a Tabernacle type play here. Even though the Lightning Bolt is a little bit bizarre, to be honest. Is it possible they'd be on Caracas? No. Interesting, guys. I'm not sure what's happening here. Like, Force of Vigor's a really big play for me, too. And I'm just going to attack with Hogaak here, and the reason being is if they have something to remove it. Okay. Of note, I still have a Mox Ruby in my deck and a Black Lotus that I can draw, which would be helpful at some point. I hope my not attacking for 3 or 4 turns in a row with my Stitcher doesn't come back to haunt me. Okay. Well, guys, I think I have to go with everything here. I don't think my opponent is in a position to attack with Ragavan next turn, but let's see what happens. I don't know what to say. That was a very peculiar win. My opponent ancestraled and treasure cruised, and I mean, obviously did incredibly poorly in their draws. They also drew. I mean, that was turn 14, and they didn't do anything that entire game other than cast those spells. So they drew tons of cards, and as you can see, they had 4 Leyline of the Voids amongst those cards, but they must have just had nothing. I don't know. Very peculiar. I won that, but regardless, I think we played it well given the conditions we were in, and we're able to squeeze out a round 1 win, guys. Hope you enjoyed the videos. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.